Hey, it's Niall coming at you today from Toledo in Spain, which has to be one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to.
It's got spectacular views, tiny little winding streets. It's world famous for sword making. There's a zip line across the river. There's a big massive cathedral. And marzipan was even invented here, for feck's sake.
It's delicious. But this isn't a video about Toledo, so let me get back to my Airbnb and we'll get down to business. Alright, so in today's video, you are going to learn how to earn your first $100 online this weekend. This video builds on everything we've gone through in previous videos, so if you missed out on those, make sure you go back and watch them first. Now, the question is, how do we actually find those people, those clients who are happy to pay someone like you to do some work for them online? And how do we convince them that you are the right person for the job? See, Linda Martin knows exactly what I'm talking about. Does anyone get that reference? Any Irish people in? No? Okay, let's move on. Here's how you do it. Here is how you find your first clients.
You use these three methods: the Billboard Method, the door-to-door method, and the classified method. So you're going to use all three methods this weekend to secure your first clients and start earning money online. But it's very important to use these methods in the order I've listed them here. Let's go through them one at a time and I'll explain what they are and how you can use them. So the first is the Billboard Method. And before I show you how this works, you need to know about Molly. So who the hell is Molly? Well, Molly is a young lady from the UK who I met through a mutual friend last year when I was spending a couple of weeks in Chiang Mai in Thailand. So we went out for a group dinner, and this is a photograph that you're seeing from that evening. And Molly was a friend of a friend who came along, and we ended up sitting next to each other. So she's third from the right there in the photo, and I'm on the far right there with the big mad head on me. And during that dinner, Molly told me that just a year earlier, she was stranded in rural India with no online business and only £17 left in her bank account. And then she used the Billboard Method. And a few days later, she told me she had over £1,000 in her bank account. So she went from £17 in her bank account and no online business, no clients at all, to literally a few days later having found her first clients and already receiving more than 1,000 British pounds in payment, all from the middle of nowhere in India. When I met Molly in Thailand just a year later, she was still going strong, she was fully location independent, and she had a thriving freelance business. So what is this Billboard Method that Molly used to break through and earn £1,000 in less than a week? Well, I call it the Billboard Method because the basic idea is that you put up a nice billboard advertising your availability for online freelance work, and you display it in a public place where lots of people are likely to see it. Now clearly, putting up a traditional billboard like the one you see in the picture there, like you see on the side of busy streets and highways, clearly that is not realistic, and it's not what we're talking about. What we are talking about here is the online equivalent of a traditional billboard, which is, as you can probably guess, social media. Places like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, with all their traffic, they are the online equivalent of busy streets and highways. And your posts on there are like billboards. And that's what Molly used to find her first clients and earn more than £1,000 online in less than a week. It was all down to a single post on social media. Now, in her case, it was Facebook, and Molly kindly shared with me a screenshot of that post, so here it is. Now, I don't recommend you copy this word for word, but let's go through it, and I want to highlight a few points here from it that are worth emulating. So first, Molly included a nice photo of herself, so that makes it much more personable, makes it much more attention-grabbing. Second, the post was friendly and it was informal. So even though Molly only had £17 left in her bank account when she posted this, she didn't come across desperate. She didn't come across looking for a favor. Instead, she came across as a friendly freelancer offering her services to folks on Facebook. And third, the post was short and sweet. So she stated what service she had to offer, she noted that her prices were competitive, and she told anyone interested to get in touch. So nice photo, friendly and informal, short and sweet. That's it. So the first thing you're going to do as part of our step-by-step plan to find your first clients is post something similar to Molly on whichever social network you're most active on. So you post it up there and then you wait and see if anyone expresses interest in working with you. So that is the Billboard method, and it's something you can do in 20 minutes or less, and that's including the time required to take a nice friendly photo of yourself. That is the quickest and easiest of these three methods to execute, yet it can achieve really powerful results, and that's why it's listed first here. That said, you don't only want to use the Billboard method. You want to give yourself as many chances as possible to land some paid work this weekend. So let's move on now to the second method you can use to find clients, and that is the door-to-door method. To show you how this one works, let me tell you about Carl. So who the hell is Carl? Well, Carl is a freelance writer and he's a student of mine. He spent a few hours doing the door-to-door method and he posted about his results there in our private Facebook group. And as you can see, after just a few hours of using this method, he had landed 2 paying gigs and he had a lead on several more. And you can do the same thing this weekend. So here's how you do it. First, sit down and make a list of at least 50 people you know and who know you. Okay, so you're going to make that list and then you're going to spend a couple of hours reaching out to those people individually and you're going to tell them what service you're offering and ask if they have a need for that service or if they can put you in touch with someone who does. And I call this the door-to-door method because you're doing the technological equivalent of going around your neighborhood and knocking on doors to try drum up business. It's kind of like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, but you know, without trying to murder anybody.
Here's Johnny!
So again, there are 2 key parts to this method. 1 is making the list and 2 is reaching out. And ideally, the people on your list should like and trust you. Okay, so we're going to talk a bit more about this in a minute, but the basic point here is that it's much easier to sell your services to or recruit help from people who already like and trust you. So only reach out to people who you're already on good terms with. And second, people on your list should be people that you are in frequent contact with. You don't want to be reaching out to people you haven't been in contact with for several months or even years, because if you do that, they're likely to think to themselves, oh, I see how it is. You only contact me when you need a favor, huh? Okay, so you don't want that reaction. It's much better to reach out to people you're already in frequent contact with, because then it won't seem like you're only interested in what they can do for you instead of being interested in them personally. And listen, if you're not very good at keeping in touch with people, then I recommend you get good at it, because as a friend of mine likes to say, business is a game of relationships. And the person with the best relationships, with the most high quality relationships, that person has a massive advantage. I used to be really bad actually at staying in touch with people, even people I really liked and wanted to have more in my life. So now I have a daily reminder set to reach out to someone. And it has to be someone I don't want anything from, and it's a good little habit to get into, because aside from being of benefit to you business-wise, it'll also improve the quality of your life overall, because you'll end up spending more time connecting with people you want more in your life anyway. And lastly here, the people on your list should be business owners or be able to connect you with business owners. Your ideal clients, they will usually be business owners for the simple reason that business owners are going to be much more professional and are going to understand the concept of return on investment, which means they'll usually be willing to pay a fair rate for your services. The alternative is to work not for a professional, but for a hobbyist. And a hobbyist, they usually don't have much skin in the game, they usually don't have much of a budget, and they're usually very disorganized. You don't want to work with those people, so aim to connect with business owners as much as possible. The way to think of it is, you're a professional and you want to work with other professionals. Okay, so once you've made a list of at least 50 people who fit those criteria, it's time to move on to number 2 here and start reaching out. And mostly you'll want to do this by email or something like Facebook Messenger so you can get through the entire list in a few hours. In the article that accompanies this video, you're going to find an email template that you can use to help ensure you get the best response. I've seen a lot of people writing really ineffective messages as part of this outreach process, and these are messages that they just never get a reply. So there is a tried and tested template here that will get you good results. So check the link in the description to see that. So that's your step 2 for this weekend. Make your list and get busy reaching out. That is the door-to-door method. The final method I'm going to recommend you use this weekend as part of the step-by-step plan to find your first clients and earn your first $100 online. Final method is the classified method. As you can probably guess from the name, this one involves looking up the modern day equivalent of newspaper classified ads and applying for any jobs there that interest you. Now, before we dive into the nuts and bolts of this, I want to emphasize again that it's very important to go through these 3 methods for finding your first clients in the order I've presented them. And I say that because, for some mysterious reason, many people I share this material with, they find it very tempting to skip the first 2 methods and jump straight to this one. But the reason I recommend reaching out to your existing network first, via the billboard and door-to-door methods we just talked about, is because you're much more likely to find clients that way. And here's a quote that should help drive this point home. About 90% of job openings go unadvertised, yet about 90% of candidates apply only to advertised job openings. Let's break that down. So let's say there are 100 job openings and 100 candidates for those jobs. Only 10 of those jobs will be advertised, and 90 of the candidates will compete for those 10 jobs. So their odds of getting hired, they're pretty low. The remaining 10 candidates though, they're smart because they're aware of what's often referred to as the hidden job market. So they use their existing network to sniff out those other 90 job opportunities. And they've almost no competition to worry about when applying for those jobs. So they end up with happy faces. But not only will those 10 candidates have much less competition, they'll also have the advantage of having some kind of existing connection to the employer, because the way the hidden job market works is through personal connections and recommendations. So what I'm saying here is that when you use the first 2 methods I've outlined, the billboard and the door-to-door methods, you're more likely to find your first clients because there will be more opportunities, less competition, and those clients are going to trust you more. So again, make sure you try the billboard and door-to-door methods first. And only once you're finished with those should you move on to the 3rd and final method, which once again is called the classified method. So let's run through this quickly. Again, I call this the classified method because it involves finding clients via the modern day equivalent of newspaper classified ads. And the modern day equivalent of those ads are online job boards. Now, because I want to keep this short, I'm just going to talk about the biggest and most popular online job board for freelancers, which is Upwork.com. So here's what I recommend you do on Upwork.com this weekend. First, create a profile and get it approved. Second, search for high quality jobs that interest you. And third, apply for those jobs. Now, yeah, that is really simplifying things, I know, but I recommend you go through that process and apply for as many jobs on Upwork as you have time for this weekend. And you should actually be aiming to apply for at least 20. And to help speed up this process, I'm going to recommend you check out 2 articles I wrote about Upwork. The first is how to find the best jobs on Upwork using something called the 5 flags method. So this one will help you ensure you're not wasting your time applying for crappy jobs, because let's face it, there are a lot of crappy jobs posted on Upwork and you have to filter heavily to get the good stuff. So this article will help you do that, and there'll be a link in the description. And the second article that's going to help you out is 4 proven Upwork proposal templates to save you time and win more jobs. This one will help you craft really good proposals really fast so you can apply for more jobs on Upwork and thereby have a better chance of getting hired. Okay, and you'll find a link to that below the video as well. Now, one additional tip I want to give you for Upwork. When you're creating and sending pitches on there, as much as possible, include a relevant sample of your work. We went through an example of this in an earlier video, but I want to emphasize it again here. Because if you put yourself in a client's shoes for a minute, so imagine you're hiring a freelancer off of Upwork. What would be your biggest concern? What would be your biggest fear? Well, I'll tell you, as someone who has hired people off Upwork before, that your biggest fear is that you're going to hire someone who proves to be incompetent, someone who fails to deliver the work. So as a freelancer, you can tell clients that you can do great work for them, but it's way more powerful to actually show them. And you do that with samples of your work, especially relevant samples of your work. So if you're applying for a writing job on Upwork, include a relevant writing sample in your pitch. If you're applying for a graphic design job, include a relevant piece of graphic design work you've done. If you're applying for a web design job, include a link to a website that you've built, ideally one similar to what the client wants. Now, of course, if you don't already have those samples created, you're probably not going to be able to create them along with doing everything else we've talked about this weekend. But that is something you should be creating and adding to your arsenal going forward. Okay, so that's your step 3 for this weekend. Set up a profile on Upwork.com and apply for at least 20 jobs on there. That is the classified method. Now, to wrap this up, there you see all 3 methods again. And what I'd like you to do is make a commitment right now to take action on what you've learned in this video. So go ahead and tell me in the comments what you're going to do and when you will have it done by. And this is a really powerful form of accountability that will make you more likely to follow through and take action. So definitely take a minute to do that now in the comments below this video.
And one more thing before you take off. This video is part of my Start Earning Online series. If you want more videos like this showing you step by step exactly what it takes to build an online business, then look for the link below this video. Click through and you can sign up for the full series. And remember, in the words of Christopher Robin,
you're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.